Welcome to Planning Phase Syndicate. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. I hope you're having an amazing night, and I apologize, we are 2 days late on recording, but with this exciting weekend that we had planned out and so many different events, we were not able to pull together a podcast on Sunday night. But tonight we're making it up just for you all. Tonight we are going to be doing episode 138. What is Oddball? Why should you have him? And which is the best version of Oddball, since you can't take all of them unless you cheat. Tonight we're going to be doing our Worlds breakdown for Republic list, talking about what's good, what's going to be you're going to see at Worlds, and if there's anything that maybe we've missed that could possibly be really, really good, and just take it all the way. Joining me tonight is a couple co-hosts. Please welcome to the show, Mr. JJ. You still a Lions fan no matter what you wear. Gridiron, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing all right, man. Had a very good weekend with the family here. I got a surprise package from my family from Florida. They sent me an entire collection of the new Lorcana Into the Inklands collection, which gave me like 2/3 of like all the cards that came in for that pack, and it was really, really nice. So I'm excited. Sadly, I wasn't able to go to my Star Wars Unlimited here in my local for their pre-release event, but it was still a fun weekend.
Awesome. Also joining us tonight is Mr. Alex, the bench warmer himself. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing okay. I saw Dune yesterday. That was really good. Did 3 pre-releases and hosted one for Star Wars Unlimited over the weekend. So that was exciting.
I know that's a lot. That's a lot. Now, I'm going to ask, for your pre-releases, did you guys run best of 3 and 4 rounds, or how did you do most of them?
For 2 of them, well, it was best of 1, and those both were 4 rounds. For one of them, the other one, it was best of 3 rounds and a top 4 playoff cut, which was really weird.
Yeah, that is a little odd.
And those were best of 1s, so I guess I went 5-0 in that one.
Awesome.
Monster.
Well, if you don't know,
any...
Star Wars Unlimited came out this weekend. I got my little pre-release token that FFG provided, and I know most of you are probably saying screw FFG, but it wasn't their fault they lost X-Wing, so saying.
What were you going to do to insult me, JJ?
I was going to say, did you guys get any good pulls for like rares and stuff?
So legendaries come in 1 in every 8 packs. For me, they come in 1 in every 30.
Yeah. Oh man, that's awful.
Yeah, good times. My buddy and I think collectively we were like 3 legendaries in 50 packs, and 2 of his were just both aggression. Like he only owns aggression for his legendaries.
Well, that's not good. I went to 2 pre-release events. One pre-release event, we got a bunch of packs, and I ran 1 out of the 2. So the first one I ran, we had some newer players, and it was going to be an odd number. So I was like, I'm not going to jump in and try to play and, make somebody sit out, right? So the store still let me buy the pre-release kit. I was able to still open all my packs up and hang out with them. And then I still got some stuff, like they gave me some stuff for running it. I got Judge promos, baby. So I don't have them down here. I guess I could yell at my kid to come bring me my Judge promos down here if we really wanted to go through them. But I got my Judge promos for judging the event. And then I pulled the second day I went to a pre-release, and I pulled this baby.
Oh man, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm working on figuring out how to sell it and how much money I can get for it. Though it is literally the only Han leader I have. I do not have another Han leader. So like, if I sell it, I won't have a Han leader to play. Not that I'm going to play a lot of Han, but
I got a couple of Han leaders for you.
All right, well that's
just
good.
Iden or Palp, or I'm missing like 4 of them.
Are you?
It
Well,
took me 20 packs to get a common green base that was an Echo base, the command center.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
My buy pull rate is exactly like my dice luck.
Well, it sounds like you need to you need to come over here next weekend, Alex, and hang out with us. Because I got a bunch of stuff that I'm happy to trade with you. Especially if you've got an extra Han one, because I would like I haven't decided, but I feel the need to keep all these foils. So I also got in the same set of cards, not the same pack, but the same set of cards. I also got a Han, regular Han foil hyperspace. So like I have almost I have 2 Hans, so I don't have 3 Hans. So I have 2 Hans and then a whole bunch of other stuff. So essentially I am just down to legendaries and a few commons that I need and a few rares that I need 3 of. But other than that, technically, like I have everything. Again, minus some of the legendary type stuff. Like those are going to be very hard to collect, I think. And I got people like, yeah, I'll trade you your Boba Fett card for for a like I got these like foil devastator. Like I don't want your foils. I don't care about foils. Like I don't if they're worth the same, I don't care.
Devastators are sick though. They're legendary.
I know, but I don't need the foil. I would happily trade you the foil Boba for the, like 3 just legendary decimators, or whatever they are. I don't know. So I haven't decided what I want to do with them, but I have all these like fancy looking cards that I don't care about the fancy lookingness of them for the most part. I only really care about being able to play whatever I want. It's like if I can do that every set and just trade away all the like fancy looking things and get a full collection, that's all I care. Like I don't have any choppers. That's what I wanted. The one card I need is the choppers.
Josh pulled a hyperfoil chopper.
Oh wow, that's cool. Yeah.
Josh pulled everything though. He pulled like 8 legendaries in 20 packs.
Oh my gosh! Seriously?
Did you guys switch your packs around?
Be the same as his dice lock.
So did they? So okay. So here's what I was told, at least by the first store I went to. The first store I went to, they bought 16 pre-release kits, and we had 16 signups, and then they were given two boxes of cards. So we were giving out packs at pre-release. That's what we did. Like basically the store said, here's 48 packs, distribute them accordingly. Like don't screw everybody over, but distribute them accordingly. So like we had, by the 3rd round, we had people that were 0-2. I was like, here, have an extra pack. Like you're 0-2. You stuck around. Thank you. Like here, have some extra packs. And we were just we handed out like 48 packs roughly between all of us. So we gave out 1 for participating, and then we gave out 1 each round to the winner of each of the different pods. And then we also got these tokens. So everybody got either a token or a deck box, a small like pseudo plastic-ish cardboard deck box. I don't have one of those because I accidentally gave the one that I had left over away. So which is fine because I'll never use it. In fairness. Those are cool.
Has a like laser burner, so they just made some initiative tokens out of wood.
Yeah, cool. They did theirs on Friday, didn't they? Because I almost drove out there for that.
They did one on Friday and also one on Saturday. I went to the one on Saturday.
Yeah, I almost went out there for that, and then I was like, no, I can't. It was my daughter's birthday this weekend, so I had to be very choosy. But we did a very lax, the first one event I ran, we went very lax. Like we did a best of 3, which we probably shouldn't have done because we had people that were still playing round 2 halfway through. And so I will tell you, just as an FYI, if you do a best of 3, 55 minutes is a tight window to get 3 games in. Just be forewarned.
What do you mean? I did a best of 3 in 10 minutes.
Yeah, nobody cares about you because you're Alex and you are different. Like it's the same way as you'll play X-Wing in 15, 20 minutes for a whole game and just go get drunk after that. So I don't want to hear any of it.
Hey, if he wanted to win, he would have killed my units.
Fair enough. So I played, so the second one I went to was on Sunday and I went 4-0 in that. So I only lost 1 game to somebody that had this like insanely crazy ramped up Yoda. Like this Yoda had the lightsaber on it and then like some other resilience card which like made Yoda have, I don't know, like 10 health or something crazy like that. And so then it was horrible. So then I had to spend almost the whole turn. I only lost that game because they were able to throw a Sentinel unit out into the space unit, and then they had a Leia, and they could exhaust my Vader. So I couldn't do any.
Leia?
Wow, that's good.
Leia's starter pack only.
I don't know. They had something that maybe it wasn't Leia, but they had something that exhausted it. I don't remember what it was. So.
Asteroid Sanctuary, probably.
There you go. That's probably what it was.
Yeah, Short Sanctuary. Yeah, yellow card.
Yeah, see, same thing. It's a yellow card.
I lost 2 games technically but they were best of 3s. And I won the first game. I didn't lose otherwise across all 3 tournaments.
Yeah, I got real lucky with my pulls at the second tournament because I ended up with 2 or 3 super laser technicians, and then I had like a bunch of green and red units. And oh, by the way, in draft at least, or like in the sealed type, that stupid Yularen card, I did not want to put that in my deck because I think it's dumb. But I'll tell you what, I healed like over half of my games. I healed 5 times before somebody finally killed them. Like, because I just had enough. I had enough green units, green command units to put on the ground that I don't know. It worked almost every time. So
at Eternal Warren, I never ended a game with double-digit damage on my base.
Oh, that's fun.
Damn, really?
So what did you end up running then? There you go. I guess we're deviating from X-Wing for a second, but what I ran Vader. I ran Vader red is what I ran because that's what I played before, and that I had the most red and black cards.
My first tournament, my picks were just absolute garbage. Barely made a like mid-range red Leia deck. My second tournament, that was the one at Eternal. It was the only one I got the legendary of. I got Vader. I made an okay green-blue control Krennic deck. And then at Motor City, I did a yellow IG aggro deck.
Fun.
Yeah, so it was just kind of whatever cards that I had that were decent, I built the deck around that.
So do you think that you would do another pre-release, or are you just going to buy boxes and play construct?
Oh, I love Sealed. Sealed is like made for me. It's so easy. People are so bad at Sealed. It's incredible.
Fair enough. Well, all right. Let's actually talk about some X-Wing news since that's what our podcast is designed for, not for Star Wars Unlimited. Though I will say it's a little hard. Like I was pretty hyped this weekend. And some of it is just because A, it's another Star Wars game, and B, like they're willing to change the meta up at least every 3 months. So AMG, you could take a little bit of some hints here, baby. You don't have to do a lot. You just have to take a little hints, just little tweaks here and there would be nice to offset some of our
play. Game fresh.
Yeah. So we'll see what we get. They had Gamma today, and I think both of you texted me and said that no, they did not. Nothing got released for X-Wing. They did have some Shatterpoint stuff. That was announced that had not been previously announced. Some pretty cool Bad Batch stuff. So if you're into Shatterpoint, I will say some of the stuff, like I think they announced a chopper unit, which looked pretty totes. And I don't know, I don't play Shatterpoint currently right now, but it's something that we looked at getting into. And some of the units that they have coming out for that this year look pretty amazing. So if you're into Shatterpoint, definitely there is some hype there for that.
Yeah, I just want the Bad Batch shuttle, man, for X-Wing. That's what I want.
I know. Well, maybe someday we'll get it.
Focused on Bad Batch. They announced that. One of the sets is focused on Bad Batch.
X-Wing? We have an X-Wing set coming out? Oh, okay. Yeah, so Bad Batch will be coming out. Yeah, they have a whole bunch of stuff that they announced for that as well. So if you are into Star Wars Unlimited, we'll probably talk about it. We're not going to shift our podcast at this point. I like X-Wing quite a bit, and I don't have an interest in deviating from our X-Wing content too much. But I will say it'll be hard next weekend to concentrate on X-Wing. It's been hard to prep for Worlds, I'll tell you that. But either which way. Anyway, let's get into some X-Wing. I wanted to start out by talking a little bit about we had some AMG Adepticon updates. So essentially, these are what you would call the rules or the guidelines for it. I don't know how much. We don't have to go read these word for word, right? We don't have to do it. There's a document. We will have a link in our description if you would like to read them at your own leisure. But I thought I would just kind of call out a little bit, to highlight here, because they did take the time and effort to put this PDF together for us, and I would highly recommend people go through this and ensure that they are familiar with essentially what the game is and what the rules are going to be. So essentially, they require all of us to bring our own components. If you didn't know, you had to bring your ships and your cards and your tokens. So make sure you do that. On stream, they're going to expect them to use official components. Anything that's branded Lego or Harry Potter or Star Trek is not going to be allowed.
Who the hell brings Harry Potter to Star Wars?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm assuming that's just a blanket lawyer statement, JJ. That's my assumption. I've never seen at Worlds last year. There was no Harry Potter that I could find. So yeah, they don't want us to bring Lego figures, which I think is fine. It is what it is. So the plastic ships bases and components have to be official. Ship tokens, they say official components only, right? So what they're saying is you cannot use the Kylo special printed what do they call those little cardboard pieces? The chits? I don't know what they call them, but
The Whisper like bases.
yes, the Whisper base. You cannot use the Kylo special one. You have to use an official one. So like, I don't know. They want you to bring a Nantex for the Whisper of the same initiative. We had this last year. I have to ask Crispy what he did for Kylo. Like I was using the Kylo silencer board from when I've been playing locally.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've been doing. Is whenever I play Whisper Kylo, I just put on the silencer Kylo board.
You don't want to run Brewer Kret?
No, I mean,
I used to once upon a time.
Yeah. Obviously, they want only official components for ship models. Cards have to be official. You cannot use alt art cards. Though I won't lie and tell you off the record because fuck it, we're not sponsored by AMG, so I don't give a shit. I guess at this point, we don't. They didn't. Nobody cared last year at Worlds. Now there's going to be more people this year, so maybe they will. So what I did is I just asked every opponent about cards. Do you care? Basically, they were looking for you to not bring pieces of paper cut printouts. Make sure you bring the actual thing. And you know what? I think we know what comes out supposedly this Friday. Supposedly we're getting our Battle of Endor packs in on Friday. So I have not heard from my local store, and I'm a little concerned because I was tempted to swerve to from First Order to Empire, but if we don't get the Empire stuff, I don't know what people are going to do. I don't know how that's going to work.
Use an Nantex base instead.
that is not. It's only acceptable. Nope, it's only acceptable for replacing errata cards.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people in Canada that won't get to the Battle of Endor packs until after Worlds, so that they're going to be at a distinct disadvantage.
Yeah, so I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if that should go into our prep talk. It is what it is. I just do know that I will be sad if people aren't able to fly what they really fly. Basically, they want official components for the range ruler maneuver components. They will permit third parties as long as it has the line, and they comply with regulation and rules. So essentially, if you're bringing something that sounds suspect, or if you got something from 1.0 that you drew the lines on, it's not going to work. Don't do that. That they will definitely knock that out of the water. But like I have 3D printed ones or whatever that were resin cast, and they worked last year, and they'll probably work this year. And I do have like official like I have judge templates that everybody uses. So I guess if worse comes to worse, people complain, I can just use my. But same thing with dials. You have to use the official dial. You can put covers on there. They cannot customize the dial cover.
You can't do Pokeballs. A couple people did that last year, and they're just like, we can't use them in pictures.
Yes, so essentially it has to be stuff that's exclusive to Lucasfilm, right? And that's it. So I don't know. I don't. The
makes
only
sense.
dial covers that I normally run are the ones that are from FFG days or are just the regular ones. I don't have anything super fancy or special. Dice are obviously very specific. You can only use FFG given dice. Do not bring your own homemade dice. And you can use outer rim dice. So I'm going to go through my outer rim box and start rolling my dice and see if they roll better than my other dice. Because I don't remember them putting that last year. Official damage decks only. That's a given. Scenario features or markers. They are going to let us use third-party ones, which is really cool because a lot of us have these third-party ones. And last year, like when I went, like Nabi gave me one that I was able to use as a center one every time. I have some XTC ones that are thin and really cool. I know their crates have some out there that are cool looking. So anyway, the scenario feature markers will be great unless you try to bring something that looks shoddy, right? You know, if it's chipped or something, don't bring.
Or it's lewd.
Yeah, or if it's lewd, don't bring it. There you go. That is the same thing. Again, they're gonna hear the scenario markers, so the same thing. If it has a Pokemon symbol on it, even if it says crates and has a Pokemon ball on it, you aren't gonna be able to use it. Just but most of us don't have, I think, that type of thing. Most of us have either Star Wars themed ones or base ones for podcasts and stuff like that. So it is really cool that they're letting us use those because I was a little concerned that we wouldn't be able to use. Like I have a set of GSP ones I couldn't use last year that I can use this year. So that'll be really nice. Obstacles obviously have to be specific. You cannot use anything but AMG and FFG obstacles. We'll just keep moving on. That's simple. Bombs.
No epic ones.
Yeah. Bombs, exact same thing. You essentially can only use custom or official components for bombs. They are officially telling us for tokens and charges, we can use third-party ones, which is neat because they were pissy about that last year. But they must have clear marks inside and out. Same with target locks, must clearly be marked for what they are. So if you have a bunch of GSP ones from when we all played in the GSP tournaments, you can use those this year, and nobody will say anything. So, which is nice. I like that. Scorekeepers, that's a little different. They encourage and recommend players to both keep score. I don't know if you guys both do that or not.
Well, I mean, we do it, but I tend to bring like my own like guide or like flipper thingy to the table, so that way it's easy to read from both sides.
Alex, do you keep score for your games too, or do you just trust whoever's keeping score for you?
I usually let the other person to keep score because I'm drinking.
Okay, all right. All right, pair me up with Alex, and I'm going to write 20-0 down for round 2, baby. Alex flew all his ships off the board. I don't know what to tell you.
No, they'd believe it.
You just have to confirm it. I just have to give you some of those. I'll bring some Everclear. I'll lace some beer with some Everclear, and then you won't be able to stand up straight. But we encourage you to keep track of your own score if you feel like you need to. So, I personally am kind of the same way Alex is. I'm more lax about it. I know people have different opinions on that. To me, it's whatever. If you want to keep track of your own score, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, if people are going to cheat at a silly little plastic spaceship game for plastic chips and prizes, then
catch them outside.
Yeah, I mean, there's bigger. That person probably has bigger issues. So, squad lists are everyone must bring a list with them. One that they could turn into the TO for the event, which is this is standard stuff. And the second copy that you show your opponent. I would tell you right now, bring 3 to 4 copies, especially if you're going to drink. I won't tell you how many times mine has fallen out of my back pocket and then I couldn't find it and luckily had an extra one in my bag. So, just as an FYI, I would bring more than one extra one.
Yeah, for me, like I've gotten to the point where like I'll bring my Infinite Arenas breakdown along something like all standard, and I'll just give it over to my opponent so that way they can just have that at a glance.
Oh man, we don't have a hotel this year. How am I going to print that? We'll figure it out.
If you send me your stuff that you need printed, I'll print it for you before you leave.
I usually just print it out at the hotel because that's easy and no one owns a printer.
Oh, fair enough. But if I own a printer, if you'd like me to print your stuff, just send me your bloody list that you all 7 of them that you have queued up, and I'll print them for you. Component FAQs. They basically ask about cards versus tokens. So, for example, struts on. It's funny they don't have any struts on here. They have everything as S foils. If you have struts for your droids, can you use a token versus a card to demonstrate what it is? All you have to do is agree beforehand with your opponent, and that's what you should go with. So, I will tell you, with the amount of X-wings on the table, that's going to be extremely huge. Is make sure you have that conversation ahead of time with your opponent to say, "Hey, how are you going to capture where your S foils are?" Because I've had it before where somebody will forget to flip a token, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, they're only shooting 2 dice, and then it feels bad because it's like, well, I mean, you should have flipped your token. Well, my card says this, so just make sure you work it out with your opponent. Um, and that should be a pretty easy thing, and then it'll help you remember, right? You'll remember what they're using. It's very simple. Charge tokens, they're asking you to not remove your charge token, just flip the damn things over. Hence why they want to have double seconds. I think that's fair, right? Like, I don't think we have. I don't know anybody that removes their tokens, but
I actually know a couple people.
all right.
It's fine for casual play, but I understand why they're just like, yeah, that could be misconstrued. It's just missing.
Yep. Especially if you look at my physique, there's a couple of times that there's a certain part of my physique that has touched my cards, and I've lost charges on the ground. So
I destroyed BB-8 entirely with my girth. Just destroyed him. Just peg's gone. I don't even know what happened to the base itself. It's all destroyed. I blame Chris.
That's hilarious.
So don't remove your charges, please. Just flip them. They are asking that you use critical damage markers. So if you don't have any fancy looking ones, take the cardboard ones. This is something I can say is something I forget all the time. So, if you're playing against me, don't forget to remind me, put your damn crit token out.
Literally never used any of them in my life.
I don't usually either, but they are telling us that they would like them, so that's fine.
I'm gonna call a judge over to DQ my opponent because he didn't bring any.
Oh, Alex. Hopefully Alex is not playing against me.
I can tell you, as a person who's played against people who forget to play critical hit markers, I've had people forget that they have a loose stabilizer with 1 health left, and then they bank their ship right into destruction. And like, it sucks because it's a tournament level, and you don't want to be the bad guy, to like enforce it. But like, honestly, it really is up to the player to make sure that they do keep track of crits like that, because that could be a game changer.
Yep. So here's dice rolling expectations, and this is like the largest section, for Christ's sake. But dice trays and dice towers are not required if one is using them, unless there is an agreement among the players beforehand. A die that lands outside the tray or tower must be re-rolled. I will tell you right now, I despise dice trays. I understand why people use them. I hate them. I hate the fact that people can roll it in there and it can bounce out and they get to re-roll it again. I hate that. Just roll the damn things on the table. It looks like they're going to allow them. So whatever, I guess.
Yeah, that's definitely a change. That's something
tower is like an X-wing thing.
I have a dice tower. I don't know who does it, but I have one that I use for Pelp. But back when I played Destiny, because you used to roll sometimes 12 Pelp dice into a tower. So like, have you ever tried to do this with 12 dice?
Sure, I get that, but like an X-wing, 6 at most, right? So it's just like, what are you doing?
I agree. Go ahead, JJ.
I'm not gonna lie. I've seen some pretty cool dice towers. I've seen people have like one of the like the Hoth turret towers, that they hollowed out to have like make it a dice tower for X-wing dice. Pretty cool stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you got to agree with your opponent, because they do add time to the game, for rolling sometimes, and some people may not enjoy that. So
I am one of those people. I do not like the dice trays for this game, but I don't know. Maybe this year, if somebody has one, I'll just use their make them put it in the middle of the table and use it with them. There. Cricket cocked dice. So this is the one thing I will say. If you think your dice is cocked, do not pick it up. Make sure your opponent agrees. If not, call a judge. Just flat, plain and simple. Let the judge make the call. It takes the weight off of both of you and the other player. And I personally, I feel that that's actually very important, because a lot of times what'll happen is somebody will say, "Oh, it's a cocked dice," and somebody else will be like, "Nah, it's not. It says it's a blank." And then it could create a bad environment, especially if somebody's having a bad time. So if you don't think it is, just call a judge and move on. So I don't think people stack or balance dice personally. I don't know how in God's green earth you can do that very easily without
I've
looking
seen
like you're
people do
cheating.
that.
Yeah, but they're cheating. Like, you can't, like, how do you drop them and they both land on top like that? I don't know. If you could do that, Alex.
I've had dice land on top of other dice, but I think they mean like if a die is cocked, you try to put the die on there, and if it stays, like it's not cocked anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've had people do that.
I did not know that. So I guess I've never seen anyone do that. The other one is other dice that must be rerolled. If a die falls off the table on accident or out of your hand or the dice cup, just re-roll it. I think that's fair. I've 100% accidentally rolled one dice and it rolls a crit, and you just really want to keep it, but you just pick it back up and roll it with the rest of your dice. It makes more sense.
Yeah.
You're encouraged to maintain a clear area of components not in use. Don't pick up and remove dice results.
I was going to say, sometimes that's a little hard, right? Especially just depending on what type of list you have, right? Sometimes you have, a bunch of droids that have independent calculations, and you're going to have like a ton of calculate tokens. And as the game starts off, you're going to have a lot of those tokens just kept out in reserve, along with like stress tokens and stuff. So that can be a little bit hard to manage. But if you are going to do that, I do suggest getting a dice tray, a token tray, so where you can keep everything organized. It'll keep things tidy, and you have less of a chance of losing your tokens, mid-match.
All right, so the next one, this one's like a two-parter. If you roll too many dice, you must pick all of them up and re-roll the correct number. If you roll too few, you leave them on the table and just roll the extra in. So if you're supposed to roll 3 defense dice, you roll 2. You keep the 2 no matter what they are and only re-roll the 1. If you roll 4 defense dice and you're only supposed to roll 3, then you have to pick them all up and re-roll them. The next point says if a player would roll more dice than they have available, keep track of the rolled results and re-roll the dice that is necessary. I have never in my life seen that happen. And if I have an opponent that needs more dice, I just give them the dice and let them use mine. Like, here, just use the extra dice. It's okay, man.
Yeah.
When a player is instructed to reroll a number of dice, the player must choose all of the dice that will be rerolled before rerolling any of them. I think that's a known. And then purposeful manipulation of any dice in an attempt to roll them in a certain way is considered unsporting conduct. Again, I think that's known. I don't know. That seems to be a known quantity.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So I play a lot of dedicated, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I roll 1 evade and 2 blanks, and you have like 3 hits incoming. I choose one ship to dedicate for 1 die result, right? Like, I don't just choose both my ships and then re-roll both blanks. I do it one at a time, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, because that's how the card dictates it. Yes.
Yeah. People got mad at me for doing that.
Yeah, because they think it's cheating, but you don't have to. Dedicated triggers individually one at a time. Now you can't re-roll the same die twice though, can you?
No, you can't.
Yeah.
That.
No.
So like if you have 2 dice and you roll 1 evade and 1 blank and dedicated triggers and you roll another blank, you can't go, oh, I'm going to trigger it on this other ship and then re-roll that same dice. It has to be separate ones.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, well, if I have 2 blanks, but also sometimes it matters because I'm like, well, I don't want this ship to be strained. Or if I'm like, well, I'm dying because I didn't roll an evade off that 1 blank and need both.
Yeah.
Some people get weird about it.
And I think one of the big things is, like, for example, T81 allows you to re-roll dice results, but you're not allowed to re-roll them one at a time. If you're gonna roll, if you roll 4 attack dice, and you roll all blanks. You either choose to reroll all 4, all 3, all 2, or all 1, depending on how many bloody depletes you want. If I roll 4 blanks with T81, I usually just walk away, and I'm done with the game at that point because he should never blank out like that. But
oh, that's just my normal.
Yeah.
4 depletes is rough, man.
Oh yes,
that's rough.
You know how long it takes to get rid of them? You're dead before. You're dead before then. So yeah, anything else you guys want to add real quick before we move on from rules?
Yeah, and in all cases, if you ever have any questions about like what's going on the board, please don't be afraid to to ask for a judge. Communicate with a judge. Don't just sit there, with that bad feeling inside. And because ultimately what it does is that it takes away from your experience, and everybody's there to have fun. Yes, it is a competitive environment, but you also want to have fun primarily, because if you take the fun out of the game, then it's just a chore at that point, and it becomes something that you don't enjoy, and that's the last thing you want for a major tourney like this. So if you're ever unsure, just call the judge.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about the NCX League. We don't talk a lot about it, but let's just go over it. So here's the standings for the NCX League. So if you don't know what the NCX League is, it's the Nickel City X-Wing League, and it is amazing. And if you haven't played, we have 20 teams this season. This is season 5, and we have 20 teams, and everybody has 7 to 8 people on it. So there's that. Our team won 1 game last week, so yeah, so there's that. Meatbags won 7 games. So you won.
Yay.
Did you win your game last week?
No, I lost 21 to 20.
Oh, okay.
But I won today 20 to 19.
Oh, there you go.
Nothing can be easy.
So there's.
Go
ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, JJ.
I was gonna say I was able to beat Nick Sperry for my game last week. It was a nail biter, just having to have the luck to secure the 3 natty hits against Vader and his on his blank out there to win that match. It was a great game. Yeah,
I think that's par for the coast for Nick.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, at some point, actually, they're just like, oh, someone lost 21 to 20. And I'm just like, oh, great. I'm reminded of this even when I'm watching a replay of JJ's game. It just haunts me.
Yeah. So anyway, these are kind of the updates. If you don't know, if you aren't on the Nickel City Discord, I would highly recommend joining. If you want to play, it is online X-Wing. It is an online league. It is a team league, but it is pretty fun. For example, this year I'm on the Degenerates, and like everybody's kind of giving each other different list advice and things like that. So that's kind of like the thing. As you play it, you are stuck in one faction, but then you get to play it for the rest of the season, and it's just kind of a this is what you get to play. And like I got out of CIS for a while after not having it. I don't know. I guess I went 4-2 last season, so I guess that wasn't too bad. But I got out of playing CIS for a while, and now it's kind of fun to be able to go back and list build. I think I just needed a break, and so now it's like like I ran 7 droids last week, and I will say that I was winning up until the last 2 rounds, when they basically put 6 damage through on an HMP in one round. Thank you to frickin' an ARC for that one. And when you lose an HMP before it gets to shoot, like, not the end of the world, but then when you lose the second one, it's kind of it's a sad day for it. So
I think we're up on your team 3-0 right now, JJ. Sorry.
Yeah. It's all right, man. My last game, my game last night, I was just unfortunately I just couldn't keep track of what I needed to do. I separated my Vulture too far from the rest of my ships, and man, that I was hoping to really eliminate Fen Rao with those lucky shots early on, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't finish him off.
You mean you picked up a crate and then 2 hearted with him or 2 banked with him instead
Yeah,
of
two
like
bank that
1 cane.
that was a
Like,
complete bonehead move. Yeah.
so all right, so I didn't know. Okay, so a little real quick story. Sorry, I'm gonna throw a little story there just because. So I'm watching the game. Was it last night? You played last night, right?
Yeah, it was
It,
it was last night.
so I'm watching the game because you were on Nick Sperry's stream, and I'm just literally just watching this game, and I thought it was live. Like I had no idea this wasn't even a live game, and so I'm messaging JJ while I'm live. I'm like, why did you not go block with your vulture? Like, why is your vulture rotating? Like, why would you do that? You're rotating. Fenn's not going to be there for you to shoot, buddy. And you should have 2 forward off the rock. And JJ, like a couple hours later, Jay comes back and goes, "Oh, I know." And then but I'm watching the thing, and then I was like, "Oh, your Volan's gonna die." And like, I don't know if you know what point I was talking about, but that's when you decided to do the 2 hard of the 2 bank. I was like, "Oh, yep, he's got a bullseye with fucking Dirge right there." And then you've got Fenn Rao's gonna fucking 1 hard because he's literally unstressed. He's gonna 1 hard and have you at range 1, and you're just gonna eat all of it. But I will say you did live, like you almost lived through that. Like in fairness to Volan, he did almost live, but man, I couldn't then I felt bad. Then I was like, oh, this isn't even a live game. So you already know what you did. Just go back through making it worse. Sorry, I did not mean to make it worse.
Yeah, that's all right, man.
Can't believe you're losing ships to Fenn Rao. Vultures, come on, they don't die to Fenn.
That wasn't the vulture. Yes, that was 100% understandable. But if you had 1 Cade, you would have blocked Fenn right there.
Yeah, probably.
And then you would have been able to give Fenn that strain, and he would have not been able to get rid of that strain because he was 1 harding. And he could then have barrel rolled if he really wanted to, unless he hits you. And if he hits you, then he's stuck there. And you guys have range 0 shots into each other. So, and Volan.
Yeah. The lovely thing about Fang Fighters, they're pretty predictable on where you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a little surprised you picked up that crate on that realm. I mean, it did get you that extra point, but Volan loves to not be able to have that crate. I told you, run T81 next week and see if you like it better.
Yeah, I definitely will. I definitely want to give T81 another shot.
Yeah, because I actually thought you were running T81 until they said Volan on screen, and I'm like, damn it, JJ, why are you not running T81? God damn it, I told you, because like I was like, oh, you could do this shot, and then you'd have Fenn Rao outmaneuvered, and Fenn Rao had to barrel roll into your arc, and he doesn't want to do that, and then you're going to be able to do your little turnaround maneuver again. You would have had him strained, and he would have been stressed. It would have been a whole thing. So that's okay. You'll run T81 in one of these days and see the love that we have for that droid.
Go meat bags. Number 1.
You were number 1 last week. You were number 1 last week. So if you are you guys
this week? So
are you guys going to get like the little meat wad from Aqua Team
from
Hunger
Aqua
Force?
Team Hunger Force?
Like, can they? All right, who's your captain? Teddy is all right. I'm messaging Teddy after this and be like, "Hey, buddy, you need to have meat wad." Like, and then I'm gonna message Greg and be like, "Can you change the tune to the intro to Aqua Team Hunger Force?"
Blood Bowl, I think, right? Or not Blood Bowl, but something similar to that.
All right. Well, why don't we get into our last segment for tonight? We're talking World's Prep, baby. We're talking Republic, and we're talking some Oddball, because Oddball is very dear and near to a lot of our hearts. In one form or another. In Alex's form, it is a Y-Wing and not anything else. But in everybody else's heart right now, it is definitely that arc. And I'll tell you, that arc is pain in the ass to kill at I-5. So the goal of this segment, right, is to talk about popular lists. What's the most valuable piece? How can you win against it? What should you win or fly if you want to win with this? And all of those fancy things I threw on here. Obviously, the top upgrades first. Marksmanship coming in at number 1, and then Sync Council, and I think it's Sync Council only, right? Because you got it on Jag. That would be my assumption, is why that comes in so high. Sync Council is a great upgrade, though.
Yeah, unless you're me. Like, the top 3, Marksmanship, Sync Council, and Dedicated, it's like I'm playing these ships.
Yeah. And the marksman, I don't know where the marksmanship comes from, actually, to be honest with you. Padme? Is that why?
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably why. Sync
Most
consoles,
likely.
obviously, like a mix of everything, but the big thing is because it's on Jag, like it's a natural a piece,
Or
with
Click,
him.
because
and
Click
Click.
has 1 point left over, and they constantly put Sync Console on Click as well.
So it's a cool sync console has actually always been something that I've tried to run. I used to run when the Z's came out. I think I had 7 Z's or 6 Z's and a lat that I would try to run concussion missiles with because I thought it was cool. That was back in the day when we had like really cheap Z's and everything. But sync console was like you kill the ship that is high initiative with sync console and you ruin that list. It was horrible.
Yep.
But it was fun when you got it off. It was fun to throw all the concussion missiles at people. But dedicated is not a surprise. Besh, whatever. R4P, okay, understandable. Passive sensors is 100% because of Padme. I bet you if we go pull them on a Padme's, it'll be very close to that number. I don't know. There's some people running passive sensors on Rick, but I don't know everybody that does that. So
Yeah, yeah,
I've seen it on like Kid Anakin as well, but that's a little less popular choice because he's still 5 points.
Yeah. Proton torpedoes, same thing. The same reason it's up there. CLT is another. We don't even talk about that upgrade. The R4 P17 is probably maces. A lot of maces, right? Some Anakins.
Or 7B Anakin.
Yep. So maces and Anakin. I don't think you run that on Obi. So you run that on Obi.
You can do like
you can, but
R47 P17 and like Predator, and that's pretty legit. Predator patience R4 P17.
Yeah. And then Predator plasma torpedoes also up there. Brilliant Evasion, Alex's favorite upgrade. I had to throw this in there just for you, baby. How about this? I don't know who's running Brilliant Evasion in Republic. I don't think since I did it with Shock T, I never did it with Anakin. I never did.
The only one it makes sense with is if you have Ayla Secura or like Kit Fisto, right? The ones that forcefully change your dice to focus results.
Yeah.
I've seen people that run like Yoda, the Yoda Ada, put that upgrade on them as well. That's probably the only other instance that I can think of.
Again, you should run it if you have Ayla Segura or Kit Fisto.
Yeah.
Otherwise, don't ever run it.
All right. So those are kind of the upgrades. We could kind of move on to squads. And we look at by count first, and then we'll kind of look at by the percentile that they fit into. So obviously the top squad that's taken the most is the Padme, Anakin, Ada, and 3 arcs. We know that was made popular by Mr. Heaver back in July. Very sad. Not my favorite squad to run. I cannot run Padme and arcs together to save my life ever. I am not good at it. I tried it and I'm not good at it. But that is obviously the top, like way over every other list. Like everybody was taking that list for a while. And that is probably a list you're going to see at Worlds. That would be my assumption. Even with the Padme nerf, I still think you see this at Worlds.
Padme's not even good.
Okay, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter, Alex. People are still going to take it.
I know. There's even better Naboos.
The next one that we kind of have up the top is the 2 arcs. I'm assuming they're Jag and Wolf, or now it's probably Oddball and you don't run run Oddball and Wolf if you're running a 5-ship list.
Oddball Wolf is the most popular ones.
Okay, and then you have either Slider or Boost, and we'll get to which does better in terms of what your squad can do in a few minutes. And then
There's sort of
what's that?
There's almost no instances of that being Boost. It's all Slider. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, well, I think that's changing, and I think we could like I said, we could talk about that because I think that is an important discussion piece. What fits better in your squad? They're also running some sort of 7B, probably a 7B mace is my assumption in that list. You could run Obi. It's Anakin.
Yep, it's 7B Anakin, Oddball Wolf, and then Control Slider is the most popular ones because it's 65544 pilot initiatives.
So that must be Anakin CLT then.
Oh no, but 7B.
I thought 7B was 7.
It is. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said 6.
Oh no, he's Initiative 6.
Ah.
Yeah, no, it's 7B Anakin at 7 points, Contrail at 3, so that puts it at 10, and then you got the 2 4s and a 2.
Gotcha. The next one we have is basically a 6-ship list, which is 3 arcs and 2. Then you do definitely have both slider and boost, and then I'm assuming that's Padme. I don't know who runs this list because I personally feel that if I'm going to run that, Anakin's better than both of them. But this does give you that 6-ship variant that we are seeing a little bit more common. And then Alex, the next 2 are pretty similar. What are some of the next 2 that you see there?
So number 4 is 2 arcs, Clone Z, an Ida, a V-Wing, and a Torrent. The most common one is Oddball Wolf, Slider, that's Anakin, Click, and Kickback. So, your I6 with Anakin, because you see him in almost every list. Some form of Anakin. You got Oddball and Kickback at I5, and then Slider, Click, and Wolf at I4. Trying to do some sort of high initiative shenanigans while also being pretty defensive.
And then the next list, are they running what are they running to get 20 points there? That's like, that looks odd.
Well, it's Jag and Wolf, actually, more so. Yeah, which is so. Here's a weird one. It's Jag, Wolf, Killer, Contrail, Click, and Kickback. That is the most popular ones. Right. Sometimes it's Oddball, Wolf, Slider, Contrail, SOC, Click, and Kickback. And that's where the extra point comes in with the SOC Click.
I gotcha. Okay.
But these have not been run since like September 2023, so probably fell out of favor by now.
Yeah. More than likely.
Yeah, and that next one is the 2 arcs. This is some sort of a 7B Anakin, and we have then the whatever torrent they choose, which is I'm guessing is Kickback because Kickback's the most popular one.
Yeah,
Oddball
Kickback.
Wolf, 7B Mace, SOC Anakin, and Kickback.
And then we have another weird oddball type one where we have an arc, which is probably oddball, right? Slider, you're telling me?
Yep.
I'm assuming that's 7B Anakin then?
Yep.
And then is that are they putting Padme in there?
It is actually Rick.
Is it Rick? Okay. All right. So that makes a little bit more sense because Rick's the I5, right? So you have a little bit more.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit better about that list. So that list is a high initiative. So why would you just run Contrail then? Because then you would have all
Rick has a
I5s.
minus 12% in that list, and Padme has a plus 19%, by the way. SOC Wolf has a negative 33%. It's kind of impressive, these numbers, but also it's what, like,
it's 12 people.
Ran it, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the only other one we're going to highlight real quick, and then we'll move on to kind of percentile, is the 2 arcs and the two Jedis, right? So I think every one of those is probably the same person. It's probably Juan. That's Juan loves that list. That is a list that Juan has ran, and I think Duncan Howard also ran that list, that too. So the two of them, well, I think Duncan only ran it once though, or at least once on there. But that
PAX, I believe, yeah.
If you watched NCX tonight, you got to watch that list destroy First Order squad. So this is an FYI. But that's the Adi Gali, Anakin 7B, and then your flavor of probably Oddball and Probably Wolf, because Wolf that higher initiative. Wolf gets native rerolls with their charge for it. So then let's move on. Let's not spend too much time because I want to focus more on the pilots in the long run. The highest percentile list is this Haji Podge list that we see here, right? I don't know who's running that list. And then the next one after that is is another 6-ship list, and they're both 6 ships. And the one after that is a 7-ship list. But all of them have like rather low count numbers. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Is percentile worth discussing in this method? Like, do you think that any of these lists stand out as like premium qualifiers, something that we've missed before? What do you think?
So the problem is that like the top list is taken 135 times, and the next one is 25.
Yep.
Right. So that's a huge drop off. And you only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lists above 10 count, not including the Padme triple arcs.
Yeah.
And that's not a lot. So if you look by percentile and you're trying to judge off that, at least go for something with double digits, which is like 8th spot, which is the triple arc double Y wing, B wing, or not B wing, clone Z list. That was just at Sid Taker, right? And it's something similar to this.
Yep.
So the most popular one being Jag, Oddball, Wolf, OSOC, and then you got Broadside, Matchstick, and Slider. And that's just a lot of beef and a lot of health to go through. I mean, it's just and it's not just like one person flying it, right? It's a fair amount of people. And that'd be kind of like the first one I'd go with. I mean, the other ones are cool, but again, 3 people ran this 7-ship list,
Yeah, and that's Tim King is the one who made it popular at Sith Acre. But it's kind of funny. Like, would you want to do you want to fly 7 ships like this 7 ships in a large tournament? I don't know if I want to do that. That's maybe, but probably not. I don't know, JJ. What do you think? Do you think any of these do any of these squads stand out as something that maybe we've slept on, something that maybe we've not seen enough of that probably has a better flavor than taking a Padme ship?
Yeah, I think that we're starting to see a lot more clone only ships that are more objective based. Just mixing in the Y wings and the Z95s as their cheap ships. The Y wings, especially, they have a lot of health and they're cheap. You have both broadside and matchstick as those pilots there that can like really go in, counter claim objectives. They have their own passive mounts with their abilities. They have the ability to like carry bombs or provide defensive rerolls. And I think that we're slowly seeing those type of lists come out. They're able to really cover the board very well and for their cost. So I think that we'll start seeing more of a rise of those particular type of lists, and they can kind of fidget the numbers a little bit to either include a higher ace like Anakin in 7B or just run with more beef with the Arc 170s. So there's a lot of flexibility in that style list, and it's just a lot of health to chew through. And I think that right now that's probably something that we're going to see a lot in Worlds.
All right, so we move into top pilots, I guess.
Yep.
So by count, Oddball is officially the top Republic pilot taken. Is that a surprise to anyone?
Yeah, I mean, ever since they dropped them down to 4 points, Oddball just shot up and was auto included in almost every Republic list. So yeah.
Alex, what do you think about that? That the wrong Oddball being on top of the mix.
Well, I definitely remember saying that if they dropped Oddball down to 4 points, he's just strictly better than basically all the other arcs. But no, I mean, it's solid. I'm not a big fan of arcs right now in this meta. Despite everyone playing them, it's just maybe it's a local thing, but if like people know what to do against arcs, they melt super fast.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not sure if it's like our local meta, but like every time anyone's flown an arc, either I annihilate them off the board or they just destroy them super fast. Like my scum list that I played, it was at Crossroads. It was like literally a quarter of the field was Republic, and most of it was just arcs. And I killed one every turn. They just, if your opponent knows what they're doing, which is what I'd be worried about at Worlds, I probably wouldn't bring a ton of arcs. But if I were to bring just one arc, Oddball would definitely be the popular choice.
So if you bring a Republic list and you want to bring your oddball Y-wing, what arc do you bring, or do you just say I'm not bringing any of them?
I don't fly arcs in Republic in my lists.
All right, well there we go. There we go.
I'll take.
Okay, so here's my reasoning. Right, I love Y-wing Oddball, and I can have an arc that outputs some damage, or I can have a double modded Protorp that like does more than an arc and it's a smaller base and it's got dedicated. In the first week of NCX, I did the typical Alex move of two harding, bumping a ship, bullseyeing a ship at range 3, taking the red focus, triggering Oddball's ability to shoot a Protorp to kill that ship at range 3. And you're not going to do anything like that with Arc Oddball.
No, you do not get the free locks.
Well, you do. They just have to be at range 1. It's not in your bullseye.
Yeah.
So I maybe it's because I've played a lot of Oddball Y-Wing that I just prefer him, but I'm arc dodging Falcons with my Oddball and then getting free locks because I barrel rolled. Which you can do with Oddball Arc. It's just you have a significantly less space. But also,
Yeah,
I'm not
that's true.
a person. I fly stupid, weird shit. So normal people should probably take Oddball Arc.
Yeah,
Don't yell at me for taking Y-Wing.
Alex just wants to fly scum, and he wants every faction to be scummy. That's what he wants.
It's great when I can just jerry rig a whole bunch of St. Council stuff together. It's super scummy.
Not surprising, Wolf, Anakin, Jag, Padme, and Slider show up on the top. Contrail also up there. I don't know if Ikper breaks out the contrails or not, but that like he obviously kickback is, but I don't know if the contrail is broke out, whether it's a SOC contrail or regular contrail. I'm guessing that's a mix of them.
SOC contrail is 4 points now. Like no one should be taking.
Is that recent though?
I mean, whenever the points update after Worlds. So
okay, so no, not recent.
Yeah,
right. Contrail's great, but I understand why people don't take Contrail anymore. You just the torrents. They can distribute, evade tokens with Born for this, and focus tokens, and the SOC ones, they have munitions, and that fills up a pretty good 3-point slot because the V-wings are a little bit weird to fly. Their one banks are red. They have a boost and a boost link lock, and that's kind of awkward. They don't have evades. Their barrel rolls red. So I understand, like, V-wings are just a little bit weird. Although Contrail, his ability is pretty fun. Pretty much every time someone's shooting at Contrail, I tried to match their maneuver, so it's really convenient to turn a focus result to a blank. And he's a cheap dedicated carrier as well, but he doesn't really fit into too many lists because like you'd have to like bump a 4-point ship down and then bump another 4-point ship up to a 5-point ship, and that's really awkward in Republic.
Yeah, that's true.
Like oddly strange. It's like if you go, like you're not going to like bump like Wolf well, now that's a bad example, like Jag, where you're not going to bump Jag up to like 7B Mace to take Wolf down to Contrail. So the 3-pointers are just kind of in an awkward spot. Unless you're running like 7B Anakin. But if you're running 7B Anakin, you probably should not be running Contrail.
All right. Then we have Click, Wolf, Boost, Anakin, and Mace make an appearance down at number 13. Kind of excited. I like me some Mace.
I'm actually surprised that he's down to 13.
Yeah, me
7B
too.
Mace.
For a while, when they finally gave him back his slot, his config slot, he would all of a sudden start showing up in all different lists and stuff, even the 7B version. So kind of surprised that he's at 13, but that just shows that Republic has such great options just across the board that even at 13, he's still a really, really great option for the Republic.
Yeah, I definitely would have thought he'd be taking more than like customizable Wolf. Even though I'd prefer customizable Wolf over SOC Wolf, I would expect it like 7B Mace to be over that. Just because he's a solid value at 5 points. You just got to be used to flying the Aether sprites. But
he's one of my favorites to fly, and I don't even like heightened perception that much. It's person, so
yeah,
I like
a big fan of heightened perception.
Yeah, I like flying. Personally, I like flying Mace. I think that for 5 points, he's a great baller, and maybe a little bit of a shot caller. I don't know. All right, sorry. Wait, we're gonna throw that back to the 90s. We're gonna skip that part and delete that and move on to pilots by percentile. Axe showing up here, baby. Axe with the freaking barrage rockets, right? Barrage rocket Axe at an I3. Don't know if it's good, but it shows up as one of the higher percentiles. I think the funny thing here is your percentile is brought down a little bit, I think, by the count pieces of it, right? Like we saw before earlier, really high percentiles with low counts. But I will say, if you look at Wolf, who comes in at number 4, 429 times, shows up in the 57.8% percentile. That's pretty good. Like, that's better than Oddball. Now, he's taken a little bit more, but not much better than Oddball. Oddball still comes in at that 56% thing. But what do you think about Axe? Axe showing up here at the top. Do you think it's a fluke? A little bit of a fluky there?
He's not taken in a tremendous amount of lists, but there's been like one list that's been pretty successful with him. That's just like the triple arcs, Oddball Wolf and Jag, and then both Torrents, Axe and Kickback, and then Slider. Kind of like the six ship only fans, only clones list there. So it's funny. It's been popping up like here and there, but I think it's been doing pretty well. Just the 6 ship clones. They're just tough to. There's just a lot of beef to go through with all the evades and the focus passing, and then having 3 arcs and 2 torrents.
Yeah. Well, so I got a weird question. I'm gonna throw this out there. What do you think about running swarm tactics on Contrail? Like, we've seen it work with Resistance with swarm using the card that I don't like very much to bring Jess up to an I5 with Elo or with Elo. We'll just say it's with Elo, right? And so what do you think about using some sort of a Republic ship to do the same thing with Axe? You now have a torrent that doesn't care if it lives or dies. It's worth 3 points. It gets to shoot barrage rockets. It has a harder time probably lining up the bullseye, but it's still pretty. That's for 3 points. That's still pretty good. It's a little bit cheaper than LeHugh's. I don't know. What do y'all think? You think Storm Tactics this is worth it, or is that just a cheap gimmick people are playing with?
I think Zach was playing that for a little bit. One of your locals.
Yep.
It makes sense because like you can shoot with Axe, and then one of your friendly ships in your side arc. With the Born for this gets like a free lock on the defender, right? So you can actually kind of enable a lot more things on there. You're just kind of sacrifice. It's like running swarm tactics on Hera in my mind. You're kind of just sacrificing the usefulness of one ship to boost another ship, like less than what you're sacrificing.
Okay.
Because like sometimes it works with like Elo, I can see it, but like like Harrow had swarm tactics with Bodica, right? So that's in my mind kind of the same thing. It's definitely something to uh, look at if you're into some weird stuff, but also V-Wings and Torrents don't really fly the same. And the range band on that gets a little bit awkward unless you're like straight jousting, which is, I mean, it might work, but
Yeah, I just didn't know. I don't think Zach's the only one that's run that. I have seen that in a couple other lists on List Fortress before too. So I do think that like there is other people out there trying it, and I do think like it's a valid discussion point because like I have poo-pooed Swarm Tactics, but having played against it and have watched it played, like I think that there is some value to it, and maybe that's just me having to admit that the value with Elo and Jess being there is there's value to the swarm tactics that I just don't like personally. I think that's something that we could see. It's a theory crafting piece, and if you look at like what we're trying to do as a podcast, right, is we're throwing ideas out here. We're saying, hey, these are things that are working in other things. Do they work in this faction too? Like I could tell you, Swarm Tactics does not work in CIS. So you don't have to worry about it. What do you want? Your droid to be I2 or I3? I mean, pick which one you want. Like it's just like and you aren't running Swarm Tactics on Zam, so
Brewer.
I guess you could Brewer. Yep, you could. Then you have no offense, but hey, 4 points into that is great. So anyway, like I think it's a valid discussion point because I do think that that's something that we could see at Worlds. That could be something that does come up at Worlds where people want that piece of tech. And if you think about a 7-ship list, you now have a bunch of other ships that you can swarm tactics up to, right? Like, do you sacrifice a little bit, but in a 7-ship list, do you care as much because you have other pieces that are doing damage? I don't know. I think we did see swarm tactics in Tim King's list too. I'm about 100% sure, but I thought we had.
Yeah, it looks like there's about 8 instances, 8 people who have brought swarm tactics. That's like it's not in the. It doesn't show up on the hiding small samples tab.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. So then Killer shows up, but Killer only has 15 instances, so I think that's kind of an odd thing. What about Wolf? What do you guys think about Wolf showing up higher than Oddball? Is it just because it's taken less that it shows up the same, or I don't know.
I think it's one of those
it's
things.
probably.
Go on, JJ.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably related to the initiative, right? And that you get the shield upgrade.
I think just because it's like Oddball's taken so much more, right? So that means more lists for people to do worse with. And then like there's a split between SOC Wolf and like customizable Wolf. So maybe that's skewing some of the numbers as well. Yeah, but yeah, I think it's just that it happens with everything that's like super ubiquitous, right? It's just the sheer amount of people taking it means that not everyone who's like super good at the list is taking it as well. So you'll end up with people get higher and lower results.
All right, then we kind of can skip over a little bit there. Kickback, obviously showing up pretty high for his value. I think people don't shoot Kickback, right? So I think it shows up as a higher percentile because people are like, but I will say, don't be shy of that Diamond Boron missile, especially if you run a droid swarm. You know what I mean? They love droid swarms, but the next one we kind of see is Matchstick. Matchstick is showing up with only 78 instances, but showing up in the number 8 slot. That's an interesting. I think that's an interesting take. There with Mr. Matchstick that we aren't getting with some of the other ones. We can ignore Jag, and here Mace shows up at 10. So Mace jumps 3 spots above some of the other ones. And I think we could get to Mace in a minute when we talk about some builds and things like that. But what do you guys think about Matchstick or any of the other Y-Wings? Matchstick showing up here. Not with Broadside, below Broadside, but still showing up in the top 10.
Matchstick has been a longtime favorite of mine. Y-wing for the Republic, pretty much any Y-wing, just because of his ability to just really take advantage of red tokens, right? To provide those rerolls. I mean, if you're in a list that doesn't really rely too much on just having target locks around or using them around, turn one, you can pretty much put all the locks um, from your list onto Matchstick, and just ends up becoming those rerolls that he needs for it. It also works whenever he takes like a strain token from dedicated, or if he ends up taking a stress from like a red maneuver, from like a red bump, for instance. There's just so many things that just provides that passive mod on offense for Matchstick. So he is definitely a really fun Y-wing character, and I love to use him all the time.
Who do you think loves those red tokens more, JJ and Matic? You or my scum list?
Uh, good point.
But that's
Good
that's
point.
an okay. All right, but let's be frank. That's an oddity that we are not going to see a lot of
Oh
that
yeah,
scum
no, it's just
list.
me.
Yeah, it's just you. So you will do really good into that meta, but not into the other metas. Though, if you think about it, if you have all right, so if you go against a rack that can't get rid of red tokens, like do you just like go in and block all their ships so they all keep their their stress tokens too? Or does rack only affect enemy ships?
What's the
The
question?
death troop. Does death troopers only affect enemy ships or all ships?
Enemy ships.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
Enemy stress tokens. No, I mean Matchstick actually is one of the few pilots. Another being a couple of the HMPs that dropped 2 points. He went from 5 to 3 in the post Worlds update, and he's a solid piece. But you basically only see him run next to uh, broadside as well. I think most people just agree that broadside is probably the better of them. Because of Matchstick's low loadout. Now he's more of just like a turret carrier instead of a torp or missile carrier, which was really good when he had the rerolls with the red tokens. But that list, the 3 arcs, the 2 Y-wings, and your clone Z95, that's still doing really well. So I think that's what's uh, bumping up Matchstick a lot. He's actually been on the rise over the past like 3 months or so. Pretty steady increase in wins.
All right. Well, why don't we dive into some of these pilots? Who do we want to start with? Right? Do we want do the question is, do we even need to go through Oddball or Jag or Wolf or anything? I mean, I think Oddball maybe yes, because Oddball can be taken in so many lists. Or do we just say if you have 4 points and you're not Alex, that Oddball is probably one of the best 4 point carriers for the average player, right? Like I think Anakin's great, but I don't think everybody can fly Anakin.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the 4 points in like for bringing oddball is it mostly comes down to you should either bring oddball or maybe consider splitting up oddball into like the 2 Z's. And even then, that's kind of like a little questionable because you could probably scrape out 4 points somewhere else in your list to do that. But I mean, he's up there with Anakin for probably like what you should do if you have 4 points in Republic. It's just
Yeah.
a lot of beef.
Yeah. And I think it's well, you know what's weird about Republic right now is like because the SOC stuff in Republic came in so hot, we don't have to talk about many loadouts, right? Like it's really more squad based, which is kind of what we've been talking about. Like, what are you going to see? And I feel like to some point, I kind of agree with you. If you have 4 points, you take oddball. It's an I5 arc. It's got really good value for what it's worth. Like it's got very good value. Um, if I had to choose between Oddball and Anakin, I would pick Anakin over Oddball personally. But that's just me. because I like that AC style of play better. And I like the can I lose Anakin in one shot thing? Yeah, Tanner can just fuck up and roll all blanks and not have taken an evade that turn and just die. Like that's a Tanner move right there with this Anakin. But I think for the majority of players, I think oddball is an easier choice if you have a 4-point slot to slide them into, right?
I'm not actually sure anymore now, just because there's like with the BOE, with Wedge and Jendon now being like really popular I6 pilots, or even like Gina being an I5, you kind of almost need Anakin in your list just to keep some of them honest. Like now, more so than before, is where I'd like, well, maybe you should consider putting Anakin in over like oddball, especially if you don't want to get 5-die proton cannons, which is really easy to do on an arc. So it's kind of a tough call now. I really like SOC Anakin actually a lot. He's very fun to fly. You just gotta not put him by anyone else.
Yeah.
He's like either super flanking or like randomly picking up objectives on the other side of the board.
Yeah. So let's come back to Anakin in a minute. Like, so if we look at oddball stub, it comes at the highest number, but it's only 6 counts. So like that's not a good sample size, in my opinion. But somehow stub making it, right? Like I don't know how stub makes it, right? That seems crazy to me. Like I don't know if I would consider sub. Axe is also up there. Broadside, matchstick. And again, a lot of these counts are screwed or skewed because people are just taking oddball. It's a highly taken ship. It's interesting though, this Aligadia up here, other than it must be that 4 ship list
Yep. It's that Duncan
that
list.
that's taking it that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Adi's a very, very, very good ace. We've definitely seen it used to very good effect, especially from Duncan Howard, being able to take it and win a store championship with that. Adi, I've had the opportunity to play her in both forms, and she's just a great ship to go in and just be a really good tank, especially if she's supported by other ships that can provide like additional tokens and such. Equipping her with Chopper, she can definitely do a lot of work.
Yeah, just you also have to be really good with like getting bullseyes. Just with any CLT Delta 7 ship. I mean, she's a little bit more defensive because she can like cancel the range bonuses, but you're also not double repositioning nearly as much because of that ability.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be really good at either making sure you're getting the bullseye or keeping her out of, making sure you're not going to be shot at a lot because, four health is kind of rough sometimes, even with like a free evade from Chopper.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you also see like, I mean, to go back to the top, like axe, broadside, matchstick. You see them in almost the double-digit percentiles, and that's like that really that list we were just talking about with the 3 arcs and the 2 Y-wings, right? So maybe that's I wonder how many people are going to bring that to Worlds because it seems to be trending up.
Yeah, I personally I feel that 6 ship is better than the Arcs Padme list, but that's just me. I will say it's really like my personal take would not be to take the 3 arcs. Like personally, I would want an Anakin in there. But that's just me. I would 100% take Anakin over Wolf or Jag probably any day of the week. I don't know. Jag's so nice with the free locks. But man, if you focus fire Jag down, he's an I3. you can knock him off the board in 2 turns if you have enough firepower.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of arcs in general, honestly. But yeah, Jag, it feels worse because he's being at a low initiative. You might not just be able to shoot back.
All right, so shall we look at broadside? Let's look at broadside, right? I feel that's a ship we can kind of control because we can actually bring upgrades on this ship compared to some of these other ones. Come on, computer. Computer will eventually work. There it goes. Okay. So here we have Matchstick. Matchstick seems to do very well to some extent. It's always hitting in that 50th or higher percentile. A lot of people are bringing ion cannons and proton bombs. Alex, is that your preferred build, or do you got to have that? Do you got to have that dedicated?
Yeah, no, my preferred build is the second one with dedicated ion turret and R4.
Yeah,
But
I have to agree. That's the preferred.
it's probably the smarter build, right? Because that R4 is so much better on that ship that has no blues. Like this ship gets what, 2 blues, 3 blues in the whole list.
Blues, 1, 2 straight, baby.
Yeah, like that is like got to be the worst designed. I don't know. I hate that about Y-wing. Obviously, don't take ion cannons and thermals. I guess if you're gonna do anything, don't do that. I think protons are better than thermals any day of the week. And I do agree. I like dedicated better than putting that seismic charge on there. Just personally, I think you're not getting. Do you care about green dice? No, right? You don't care about the green dice because you're only rolling 1 anyway. So we see it works really well with axe, kickback, mace showing up pretty high there. That's a surprise? Is that it's only six list? Could you put matchstick and mace together and feel that would be a decent like salad style list, or is that just grasping at straws?
I mean, you could do both Wise and Oddball and 7B Mace and have 5 points left over, which is kind of awkward.
Yeah, because then you can't run Anakin, right? You know,
Right.
I mean, you can run Obi-Wan. You can do a Z95 and a 3-pointer if you want. There are a couple of the 7B. Oh no, not 7B. It has to be the CLT versions. But yeah, I mean, you have a couple of options there. You just gotta find what you.
Barris as well for 5
7B
points.
Barris,
No
yeah.
one plays 7B Barris.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay.
Oh,
So if you have that, you said you have 5 points left over. I mean, that allows you to put kickback or axe in there, and like that's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
at that point, you just knock down 7B Mace to another arc, so you can put like Z95 in there, and then you just have that list we were talking about.
No. Well, that's just exactly what they did. But it is a little surprising seeing Mace up higher there. But I think when we talk about counts, like kickback or axe is probably a better bet. I don't think this 27% is realistic with axe though. I think that's just due to low sample size. Sicko is in here, baby. Somebody's running Sicko with broadside.
I love Sicko. I don't know why I would ever run that with broadside.
I don't either because I don't see that it works together, right? Like maybe it does. I don't know. I know. I wish Sicko. I wish it had 1 more green dice. I just wish they had 2 green dice for those lats. They're such cool ships to put on the board too. You know.
What do you? What's the preferred loadout for a Sicko?
The one you don't bring. You don't bring them. It's
no.
It's barrage rockets.
Gross.
No.
Yes.
No.
Why not?
No.
Multi-missile pod C3PO.
Yeah, multi-missile pod C3PO is what I do.
Yeah.
Why?
Because you get the defensive rerolls with C3PO. Also, you have like novice stack in there, and you get multi-missile pods to shoot, which also works by shooting off a calculate. And you can mod them with just being a lat yourself.
Mm-hmm.
with barrage rockets, can you take C3PO with barrage rockets or no? You can't because you have get calculate, so it would be inconsequential.
Yeah.
You can physically take both barrage rockets and C3PO, but you're not shooting the barrage rockets if you do the C3PO.
Yeah.
So, so what else would you run then if you wanted to run barrage rockets?
I who I,
You
I don't
you
know.
could put sat salvo on them if you wanted to, or if not, you can definitely run munitions failsafe and Cody. So that way, if you roll something bad, you can cancel it out, or if they happen to evade the attack, they get the strain from Cody. Just different options there.
Yeah, but Cody, you're at night too, so it's probably not.
Yeah, it's
Not
not
right
ideal,
there.
but yeah.
I'd probably do something like agile, dedicated novice tech barrage rockets,
Yeah, that's good.
or maybe like you could take Wolfpack and agile and like munitions failsafe or something. If you're depending on how you're trying to build it out, I just love the C3PO multi missile pods combo, but also no one flies Sicko, so
Yeah, no, we're talking about a very unflown ship. All right. Well, let's go back. Who do we want to cover next? Who do we want to talk about next? JJ, pick a pilot that we're gonna have a conversation about.
Jesus.
Let's see. Let's talk about Slider. He is a very economical ship for the Republic. He's one of those 2 pointers on there. Only has 3 loadouts. For me, he's always a dedicated carrier, or a carrier of dedicated. They upgrade dedicated. But I've seen other people use like fire control system with sync console. What do you think is the preferred way to load out Slider?
It's just too dedicated. It's so
Yeah.
useful.
Alex is just gonna say dedicated no matter what.
Yeah, especially if you have
What
more
about
for
you, man?
this.
Yeah, that's true.
I agree to some extent that I like the dedicated. I will say that if I'm running only one Z95, I can run Lone Wolf, and it's like my Sabine, and and it lives longer. If I'm gonna run Slider and do the weird side slips and just kind of run around an objective for a game, I like Lone Wolf better. This is where sideboards would come in, right? This is where we could actually, if we actually had sideboards, I could have Lone Wolf and Dedicated in my list, and I could pick which one based on the scenario, because I think Dedicated is better in most of the scenarios. But if I'm going to run Assault, I could literally just have this guy, or Scramble. I can literally just have him run around and pick up objectives and do nothing else. And I prefer Boost personally,
I
but
was gonna say if I'm going to run a Lone Wolf Z95, I would rather have it be boost than slider, just because you can like modulate where you're gonna be with boost. You know, at the start of engagement, and so like Lone Wolf will help you a lot more than slider. Like slider when he slides doesn't really go super far enough for Lone Wolf, but if you do like a 3 straight and then focus and then do like a boost with boost, you can get out of range 2 pretty easily.
Yeah.
so yeah, so there's not much to this. I mean, um, somehow Bo-Katan shows up as one of the better ships to run Slider with. That's not true. Just I'm gonna make a statement that is not true. Not that Bo-Katan is not a ship you can run. It is just not the ship you should run with him.
Agree.
Yeah, slider's kind of weird, right? Because slider's also used in a lot of lists just as like a filler 2 piece, which was the role that the ship was made for. But It's interesting to see how many people take slider over boost, because I've always liked boost a lot more than slider. And I get, that is one initiative lower, but you can arc dodge things as a Z95, which is really funny. I mean, slider's a little bit more mobile, when you get like a crate. Because like boost with the crate's pretty sad.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you could usually just run both, but if you're, I guess it's kind of list dependent, but I'd much rather in general bring boost over slider.
Yep. And so
Also
if we look
with
at
dedicated.
I disagree. I like Predator better on my boost. But that again, again, it's the difference of where you want your defensive pieces to be, right? Like, so if you have a highly defensive ships, great. But if you're bringing all arcs, do you really need that much dedicated? Like your arcs roll 1 dice too. And if they got born for
Hey,
this, they're getting freaking strains anyway. So I don't,
sometimes that's all you need, man. Sometimes that one health leaves oddball alive to shoot one more turn, and that's where you get that extra point there. And so sometimes it matters. But
Sometimes
maybe,
you can also bring a ship that just recharges their focus token, so you don't need to born for this.
yep, that's true.
so I think when we talk about boosts, it's kind of the same thing. Like dedicated to me, Predator. I don't understand this Deadeye shot marksmanship. I don't know how you get that off. So I don't know. Are you just bringing it because you want the marksman? I don't get it. I don't know how you get Deadeye shot off with
You're
a 2
complaining
dice
about getting
ship.
Deadeye shot off, but you want to put Predator on boost? It's the same thing. It's
No,
like
it's not.
It's the same function of getting a bullseye on
But
a
I
ship.
can boost into a bullseye.
Yeah.
Like I boost into a bullseye.
Then you could boost into a Deadeye shot too.
I guess I've never Deadeye shot to me is a shit card. So
I agree. I wouldn't do it, but it's like the same mechanic. I just think dedicated is better because you can boost into getting a side arc on one of your ships, so you can cover it with dedicated.
yeah,
I
and that's
mean,
fair.
honestly, I only like it on Merrick still. Honestly, that's it.
All right, well, and that's fine. There's a different reason for that we could talk about next
Yeah.
week, right? That's a whole different discussion, I think.
Yeah.
All right. So who do we want to talk about next? So what's a ship that hasn't shown up on here? Is there other ships we want to talk about? I mean, I think there's other pieces, but like Republic, I don't know, like Republic's a little
It's
bit
all
different to
SOC
Bold in
stuff.
it. Yeah. Like it's hard to say I want to take some of these other ships over SOC stuff,
Yeah. Like I think another ship that's been popping around every once in a while is the Gauntlet for the Republic, namely Bo-Katan. We've seen her come in and actually do some decent work. I've actually ran Bo-Katan exclusively for a while as part of a 4-ship list, and I've definitely found her to be a lot more useful for the list, especially when paired with like Contraband Cybernetics and C3PO. In Assault, she's excellent there. She does help sometimes set up those target locks for your other ships for deplete. Yes, that does end up negating a lot of her big attack, but sometimes you just need her to be there to block somebody and take up space to allow your other higher initiative aces to go in and eliminate targets. You know, she helps deny actions for certain objectives, and being a crate carrier, she can still use the gauntlet, the wings to rotate and stay put as you need to stay wherever you need to go. She is definitely a pain to take down, and when she's outfitted right, and if your opponent's focusing all their attention on that one ship, you know, your aces can come in and support and take out other ships. So I think that's another ship that in Republic we're not seeing as much, but we should be seeing a lot more of.
I can't get behind
Yeah.
Gauntlets. They don't have a 1 straight, and that's what kills me.
All right, that's not what kills me, but I don't know. So JJ, I think the answer is I agree with you in the aspect that it's a pain in the butt to take down. I think the problem is when you don't bring enough other pieces for the firepower or the defensive abilities. I think that's where we lose. And I think in another meta, Bo-Katan could be good, right? Like, and I won't lie and say, I mean, I played against a Bo-Katan. You have to take dedicated though if you're going to take Bo-Katan. 100%, you have to have dedicated in your list because Bo-Katan, when
Needs those rerolls.
when you start going in, she's not going to live. Like, and the being that big base that's only somewhat maneuverable and highly predictable. Like, oh no, you're gonna sit still. I'm just gonna bullseye you with my dirge and throw the shit in there into you and barrel roll and get range 2 proton cannon off. I don't know. Like, I agree with you. Like, I think she's a really neat piece, and I think there's some play to it. I think in this meta, she just dies though very easily. Like, or she hinders your list in not having enough ability to do the rest of the objectives or firepower because she doesn't put out a lot of dice like that. She's not like like if you could you imagine if we had like a pre-Vizsla Bo-Katan combination in Republic? There you go. Like that. Like let me throw that extra dice out, right? Like let me have the 4 or 5 dice attack. Then I think Bo's a menace, but we're not seeing Bo. I think because the offensive capabilities are just not there personally. But I do agree, she's a really cool ship to fly.
Yeah.
You should come to Worlds, JJ, and fly her in the LCQ.
Sadly, I cannot make it this year.
Yeah. It means anything. You'd be the only one.
I'll tell you what, if you make it out of the LCQ, I would pay for your hotel stay. So there you go. Out of pocket.
Nice. Oh man, I don't even know what I would run. Oh man.
You're running Bo-Katan. We already just had that conversation. Like, there it is.
Yeah, I know, but obviously that's one part. But there's more parts to that other than just Bo.
And Matchstick, I'm sure you'll run.
I don't know. I mean, what I ran for a little bit that I thought was really good was 7B Annie, CLT Audie, and I want to say Mace Windu or Oddball. Those would have been my options.
Run it with a Hawk. There you go. This person ran AOC Anakin or SLC Anakin, SLC Obi, Bo, and a Hawk. There you go. That's the list you're running right there, JJ. I expect to see you at Worlds. We have plenty of room. You could sleep next to me and on our air mattresses that we have in our Airbnb. So, all right, let's move on from Bo because I don't think we're going to see Bo at all personally at there. Is there anybody else Alex, is there anyone else you want to cover? I mean, we could cover the 5 ADA list, but I don't think that's popular either. So
honestly, the only one I would kind of go over would be like Rick, just because he's semi-popular. He's an I5.
Yeah.
I don't have much to say about Rick. I'm not a big fan of the Naboo's, just flying them in general. They're really awkward to me. So,
personally, I like Crackshot Daredevil myself. I'm not a big fan of the R2C4 droid, but I do like Crackshot Daredevil. I like my Daredevil Rick.
I'm not a big fan of R2C4, honestly. Yeah. I will say that, though. I'd much rather have R4P. Yeah. The R2C4 just kind of seems like win more kind of thing. Like you shouldn't be spending your evade to switch a focus. Like just take a focus action. But other than that, like, the top one there doesn't seem like the worst loadout. Juke, Lone Wolf, R4P. He doesn't necessarily need to be like a torp carrier like he was before. So, if you like going fast and you want a 4-point Naboo that's not Padme, Rick Ale is an option.
Yeah. And I think Rick's popular enough. I think people like Rick, right? I think Rick is something that you will see. And I will say Rick does not need proton torpedoes. I think that was a luxury he had, right? Like, I don't think he needs proton torpedoes. torpedoes, right? Maybe it may, I guess not at the point cost yet, but and I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I have a harder time with the Juke plasma torps, right? Like I don't know. I mean, yeah, because his ability is pretty niche.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, for me, I've always put in Daredevil for Rick, just because having that 5 straight into a Daredevil boost is pretty nice, and then like hope for a Predator on there. If I'm not taking Juke, I think that's an aggressive way to run Rick. The only problem is that typically you find yourself not being able um, to keep time on target after that, right? The other part of it too is just making sure that you have like mods, right? Because if you do that, I mean, yeah, you'll have the green evade token, which is great for defense, but not having a focus kind of hurts them. I do like R4P17 on Rick for those times where you need to change those hard threes into blue to take away stress in that particular loadout. But that's just my preferred way of running Rick. Again, just not having the focus sometimes just really hurts his offense. But that is something that I've liked to run Rick with.
All right. Anything else about Republic that we want to cover? I mean, I would tell you Obi-Wan is a great ship to fly, but at 5 points, it's just hard to justify it, I think, in the faction right now, unless you want to be really AC. Like, I think if you want like your 2 arcs and your Anakin and Adi, you can technically put Obi in there. And I think there is a decent argument to say Obi and Adi are a little interchangeable. I think people like Adi because of the force negation, dice negation ability that you don't get with Obi, but Obi gets other things, right? I don't know. So outside of that, I don't think you'll see that. I think people just run Adi over running Obi, but
Yeah,
should
everyone
they?
loves
I
Obi,
don't
but
know. No. I mean, should they be? I mean, you could run 3 aces. You could run Anakin, Adi, and Obi, right? Like you could run that. That's a thing that you could run, and you would still have 3 points left over to run Contrail, I guess. A high initiative for a ship list that dies probably, but unless you're Duncan Howard, who will probably